Hello, 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 and good morning, everybody. Let me just get to let me get the chat thing up here. Bear with me while I get all of this up. Okay, let me give some shout outs. Carol says, I don't understand. It's 7:18, it's 9:30. Where is everyone? I don't get it. We're here. Good morning, Dawn. Good morning, Kate. Carol says, "Praise the Lord. I thought I lost my mind." Nope, you didn't. That's all on me. I'm the only one allowed here to lose their mind. You guys are all good. You guys keep me in check, that's for sure. Hello, Charlotte, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what time zone you are in. Dawn says she just got the notification. There's Nana. Holding my breath, I'll tell you. There's Nana. Good morning, Nana. Sandra, good morning. Do I got news for you guys? So we are going to, this is the last day, you guys, if you want to get in on the draw for the book. I've already got the wheel set up, but I can add more names to it. We are going to have the live draw for the book giveaway because I'm going to be giving this book to one of yous today. $5 super chat. Your name goes on the wheel and you are entered into winning this book at the end of this live today. I'm going to do it. So it's going to be live. You guys are going to be seeing the draw. But before we get to this, there's a few things I want to go over since the hearing yesterday. Regina, hello. Welcome. Good to see you back. So yesterday I covered the motions hearing that the major news station filed to have the non-dissemination order lifted. It won't let me change my amount. What amount is it letting you change, Dawn? What amount is it giving you? There she is. Good morning, Rose. Let me know what it is giving you. I know some of yous will only be able to do $4.99. So unless you want two entries, you can do the $10 and you get two entries onto the wheel. It's still a bargain because the book is expensive. Well, at least for me, it was really expensive. It was like almost, well, it's between 50 and $60 because I had to order it from the States. So I had to pay the difference in Canadian and US funds, and I had to pay duty. And okay, there's Carol. Let me get you written down, Carol. Carol. Okay, and then let me get you added over here to the wheel. Shit. Okay, wait a minute. Let me get this. Okay, now I gotta do this. Hang on a sec. Let me get my studio back up because I hit the wrong button here. Okay, let me open a new tab. Let me get up the wheel so I can add you, Carol. You have been added to the wheel, Carol. Okay. Rose is going to get 2 entries. Let me get you on the wheel and write your name down, Rose. You get 2 entries. I'm going to put the so we know. I'm adding you twice to the wheel. You are added, Rose. Thank you so much. Shiba Dog squeezing a big red heart. Dawn is given $13.99. Okay, let me get you added, Dawn. Okay, so let me just, okay, so you're going to get 2 entries, Dawn, because yours is in Canadian dollars, so you will get 2 entries. Let me get you on here. Dawn. And let me add you again. Yeah, because to order this, Dawn, because you're Canadian too, you're using Canadian dollars. Yeah, for you to order the book, until it's available on the Canadian site, we got to pay it in US funds and pay the duty, because then it's over $50. So then we got to pay the duty because of all these tariffs that Canada's got to smarten up, and so does the US. They got to get rid of these tariffs because we're only hurting each other. You know what I mean? And I feel bad for the Canadians. I feel bad for the US people. And it's no good for us. It's all politics, and it's like, it doesn't help me and it doesn't help you guys, right? So I'm hoping that these 2 hotheads will both come to, some kind of decision, and um, let's get this over and done with, and let's get back to some kind of normal here. And I don't say it's just the US fault, and I'm not saying it's just Canada. It's the 2 of them combined. Get your shit together, you guys. You guys know I don't talk politics, but I'm getting fed up, right? Okay, so I got all you guys on here. Yes, I got you on here twice, Rose. Let me just make sure you're on here twice. Yes, you are. Okay. So, what I'm going to tell you, let me just make sure here. Okay, why is my viewer activity not coming up? Okay. There we go. I got it. Yeah, the exchange is crazy right now. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you guys. Okay, so now what I want to say, we are going to do the live draw today. Today's going to be the final review of the book. I've got through it. And as I was going through it, you guys, there was something that popped out that made me go, huh, what the actual F is this? I think it's the first thing in this book that made me go, WTF, all capital letters. So I started again. I was up until almost 2:00 in the morning, you guys, because I wanted to get through the book, and then I wanted to investigate this. And what I found was very interesting. Is this giving us a little look into what Bryan Kohberger may think he's got in his back pocket? Is this something that explains why Bill Thompson was very lenient, and as Kaylee's dad, Steve Goncalvas, as he was saying, it seemed like he was like a lump on a log. Why wasn't he standing up and fighting for our kids against Ann Taylor? Why wasn't he objecting to things when Ann Taylor brought these witnesses and people that she was going to use in trial on the stand? Why wasn't he questioning them more? Why was he not going full force? Why was he kind of, even at the plea deal? Well, we had no proof of this and we had no proof of that. And we can't say that he intended to take all 4 lives. We can't prove that he had any sexual intent. What the hell are you doing, Thompson? And this has really irritated Steve. Now, I have not heard any of the major media, News Nation, CNN, none of them mention what I am going to tell you right now. None of them. Now, you guys know I don't blow things out my ass. I investigate things. I look into things. And what I found, I can't believe that nobody else has talked about this. Ever. But let's see if they talk about it after this, because I'm sure I know a lot of you guys go on the different lawyers' channels and News Nation and stuff like that. And I'm sure you're going to bring it up and start asking questions about it. But you've heard it here first. So please give me some credit on that if you do go about that. And I'm really anxious to see what they're going to talk about next. Just like when I told you guys look at Bryan Kohberger has something in his back pocket. He's not done. He's going to appeal. And I got attacked and everybody said, no, all the other lawyers are saying he can't do it. Yes, he can. The judge said it yesterday. That's why he's got to wait those extra 30 days before he starts releasing any sealed documents, because Bryan Kohberger has 30 days to file an appeal. Even though he has waived his right to appeal, the law states he can't waive a constitutional right that he has. Bryan Kohberger is not stupid. Evil, a monster, a psychopath, a sociopath. There's lots of names we can name him, but we can't say he's stupid because he's not. Okay? He made a big mistake by leaving that knife sheath behind. Yes, but he's not stupid. He's got something in his pocket. And you hear it here first. Just like I said, there's going to be an appeal. I said it. Just like I said months and months ago, after one of the hearings we watched, I said, you guys, I'm going to say it and I'm going to say it now. And you guys that have been here with me since day one will remember me saying this almost a year ago, really. There's going to be a deal. No. Nobody, no. Not you guys, but other people were constantly bashing, oh, don't go and watch that channel. She's full of herself. She thinks she knows it all. And, well, I worked in criminal law for over 30 years. I know what it's in Canada, but there's a lot of our laws that are the same as yours. I wish Canada adopted more of the US laws, and I wish our laws were a lot stricter, like some of the US laws, but there's so much that's the same. And I can see things coming, not only because of my legal background, but because of my gifts. And I told you, Bryan Kohberger's up to something. He's not sitting there acting like a zombie for nothing. Ann Taylor is not drilling this. And after a couple times of her saying it, it's like, okay, I'm getting it. Other people may not be catching on to it, but I am. You're setting yourself up for appeal. How many times do you guys remember Ann Taylor saying, Your Honor, I don't want ineffective of counsel. I'm putting this on the record, and if it could be ineffective of counsel. Your Honor, I've got to protect his constitutional rights. And if you rule against this, you're breaching his constitutional rights. Ineffective counsel and constitutional rights are the two things that she was drilling home for the last 8 months. Okay? When she started losing, when she got a judge that was finally not going for her batting of her eyes and everything, and she got Hitler that was by the book, stern judge, this is when she started about Bryan's constitutional rights and ineffective assistance of counsel. Okay? I'm getting there, Carol. I have to give the backstory. And it really got me like, she's got something. There's something. Bill Thompson, there was things, especially with the Cy Ray thing. Come on, Bill Thompson, why aren't you standing up and saying this guy was thrown out? The government dropped him because his app and this and that he uses is garbage. He's had people's sentences overturned because they used his garbage. Bill Thompson, why aren't you saying anything about that? Why are you letting Ann Taylor lead the court astray? Why aren't you saying anything, Thompson? And it was baffling, so I understood why Steve was really pissed, right? In reading this, I came across something and I had to look into it. And I'm going to hit that first. Before I go into the other things I found in the book, I want to hit on this. Now, Steve Goncalvas went on, I think it was Ashley Banfield last night, and he said a few things that aren't in the book, so I'm going to get that out there first. Steve said something was mentioned in one of the hearings, and Ashley brought it up to Steve, and she said, "What's this about one of the victims may be gagged, right?" And he says that was Kaylee. She had marks on the side of her mouth as if somebody had had their hand over her mouth. She had them marks, right? He'd also said that she was beaten about the head, almost unrecognizable. He also put out that on Bryan Kohberger's phone, okay, because the thing that it was with Bill Thompson saying, the prosecutor saying, there was no signs of any sexual motivation in this. And Steve was livid, Kaylee's dad. He said on his phone, it was found porn of girls that were drunk and passed out and gagged. And Kaylee had marks around her mouth as if he had tried to put his hand over her mouth or gag her some way. She had marks on the sides of her mouth. Another thing that is very concerning, I watched that over and over and over. And with the defense saying things can happen at sentencing, we want to protect the record. Bryan's up to something, you guys. I said it back when during the plea thing. I told you he's up to something. This isn't the end. Bryan's not done. Is he going to use his mental state? Like, I didn't fully understand what Ann Taylor was telling me. She misrepresented what I was giving up. She misrepresented all this. And there is a conflict of interest, Your Honor, that I have come across with my attorney. What? What, you ask? Willow, what did you just say? Talking in third person here. Please don't hold it against me. What do you mean Bryan Kohberger could say a conflict of interest with my attorney? Not only can I claim ineffective assistance of counsel, Your Honor, I've got a conflict of interest with Ann Taylor and none other than, are you ready? Bill Thompson. I'm going to let you guys catch up here because I know there's a little bit of a delay in with what I'm saying, and when you guys hear it, there's about a 30-second delay. So I'm going to wait and see what's put in chat. While I'm saying that and waiting to see what's put in chat, because I know you guys are going, Willow, you finally lost your marbles. No, I finally got the bag and have collected them. Ann Taylor wasn't pushing to protect Bryan Kohberger. Well, maybe, yeah, a little bit she was, but she was trying to protect herself. I'm going to wait. You see this little orange tab here? See this little orange tab? I bet you guys are wondering, Willow, we've never seen that little orange tab in your book before. There is a conflict, and I have brought it up. I've researched it. You guys want to know what it is? Let's go to this tab, because I have got actually quite a few things that I want to get through in this book where you can see, turn the pages over here, because there's new things that we didn't know that I want to give to you guys. But you see this little tab? Let's start over here. You guys ready? I'm going to read a little bit of this. Yes, we have very much talked about how it's shady as F why Bill Thompson is not doing his damn job and why he's just letting Ann Taylor do and say whatever she wants. Yes, Ashley Banfield, Carol, we're not supposed to be putting other people's names in the stream, though, so I'm just going to remove that. I know I've mentioned it, but I don't want it in the stream for many different reasons. Okay. I'm reading. Last night I got through the rest of the book. We're going to go through it. I got to this part. Taylor works for the public defender's office in Kernodle County, where serious crime is far more abundant than it is in Latah County. And yes, Carol, I do know that she dropped some bombs last night, but they still haven't dropped this. Like I said, you're going to hear it here first. In an irony that will soon come to light, one of her clients was Xana's mom. Now, we know of this conflict, right? We already went over this a year and a half ago. Kara Northington. Taylor avoided the conflict of interest by quietly filing for a withdrawal from Northington's case. Okay? So we did talk about this like a year and a half ago. It's like, hey, wait a minute, maybe even 2 years ago. Wait, Ann Taylor was representing Xana's mom on a drug charge, right? Well, that's not what I'm talking about now. That's not the conflict I'm talking about now. Moscow is scarcely unfamiliar territory for Taylor. She attended the University of Idaho's law school. Imagine that. So, just reading that part, I'm going to drop another bomb here. Ann Taylor attended the University of Idaho's law school. And it's funny how they wanted the house gone. What kind of pull does she maybe still have with the University of Idaho, since that's where she went to law school, right? But that's not the biggest one yet. That's not the biggest one yet. It's almost impossible to find a lawyer in the area who didn't. You guys up to speed? I'm going to cover it because it's right here. In fact, so it's not just coming from me, it's also coming from James Patterson, which I guarantee you, he's not going to put something that's not proper in this book. Okay? I trust this guy a million percent. I told you guys that yesterday before I even got to this. Listen to this. In fact, the man who gave Taylor her first job is now sitting a couple of feet away from her on the other team. His name is Bill Thompson. I'm going to wait for you guys to catch up because there's a delay. After Ann Taylor got out of law school, the first person to give her a job was none other than prosecutor Bill Thompson. It's right here. In fact, the man who gave Taylor her first job is now sitting a couple of feet away from her on the other side, on the other team, Bill Thompson. Judge Megan Marshall, the Moscow magistrate, is another part of the Cozy University of Idaho Law Graduate Circle. The one that Ann Taylor looked at and said, "We'll be standing silent." She also graduated. That judge, Megan Marshall, that took his plea when he first got back, that read him, arraigned him when he got back from Pennsylvania. She also was a student at the University of Idaho. Right? Now, so with this, I started looking things up. And what did I come across? I came across this. I asked, is it a conflict of interest if the defense attorney had at one time worked for the prosecutor that is now on one of her cases? Yes, it can be a conflict of interest if a defense attorney previously worked for the prosecutor handling their case. This situation creates a potential for a conflict of interest due to the lawyer's past relationship with the prosecution. Especially even more so if they had access to confidential information related to the case at hand, which she didn't, but also if she's aware of the prosecutor's strategies, which she is because she was his protege. He was the first one to hire Ann Taylor out of law school. Lawyers have a duty of loyalty to their clients, and a conflict of interest arises when that loyalty is or could be impaired by the lawyer's own interests or duties, right? Or past relationships with the prosecutor. So, there you go. If I looked into this, because I guarantee you, Bryan Kohberger's family has gotten every single book that has come out. I guarantee you. Now I got to get back to where we were. Okay. I guarantee you that Bryan Kohberger has not only looked into it, he has not shared what he found out with his lawyer. He's probably not asked her about it. It's in his back pocket. I told you he is up to something. And I don't have a PhD like Bryan Kohberger does. Right? Right? It's an appellate concern. It's a conflict of interest. It is a conflict of interest. Not only if she did not disclose that to Bryan Kohberger, if she didn't, there's big problems for Ann Taylor. This would explain a lot as to why Ann Taylor was protecting herself so much. She was trying to protect Bryan Kohberger's rights, but she is terrified of an ineffective assistance of counsel, and she has drilled that and made sure it's been part of a court record for over a year. right? It's going to be the appellate court, Carol. So how many other things does Bryan Kohberger have in his back pocket that we don't know about? Right? He knows even waiving his right to appeal, he can still appeal if he finds something. Is this something he's keeping hush-hush about? Could he flip this all before sentencing? Why did Ann Taylor make that sentence? Not Ann Taylor, but somebody from the defense. I forget which lawyer it was. Bicca Barlow, I think. Um, things can happen at sentencing that can change everything. Why did she make that comment? Why did Ann Taylor say, if there's any argument, Your Honor, today, I won't be responding to that. It'll be Bicca Barlow. Somebody who's such a control freak like Ann Taylor is, why did she make that point yesterday? I won't be arguing it, Your Honor. Bicca Barlow will. Summerdawn says, no, I don't think there's any relationship like that between Ann Taylor and Bill Thompson. But there is a past professional relationship. I remember when I graduated, and I remember the first lawyer that took me under his wing and taught me. I did an internship at his law firm. I remember that. I'll never forget him. He taught me so much. And what Bill Thompson taught her was his strategies, right? His strategies. This is how you do things. This is how you win. Apparently, Bill Thompson has never lost a case. This is how you do it. He's going to teach her the way to win. What does this say? This says it can be a conflict of interest. This situation creates a potential for a conflict of interest due to the lawyer's past relationship with the prosecution, especially if they are aware of the prosecution strategies or if they get information, that they shouldn't be getting from the prosecution. Yes, it should have been talked about. It should have been said. Has it been? And we just don't know? I don't know. I don't think so. But I'm telling you, Bryan Kohberger is up to something. And with Ann Taylor pounding it into the record, Your Honor, I've got to protect it. I don't want no ineffective assistance of counsel. His constitutional rights, Your Honor. If you do this, Your Honor, his constitutional rights are being affected. Could be seen as a breach of or a conflict of interest. It could be ineffective assistance of counsel. Did Ann Taylor tell Bryan Kohberger that Bill Thompson was his protege? That he was her first ever employer that taught her? It's going to be interesting. I don't know if the judge knew. So what we're going to do now, you guys, is we're going to go over the last part of the book, and then we're going to do the giveaway. So as I'm going through this, you guys, me too, Summer Dawn. This is going to be your last chance to get in the draw for the book. Okay? So let's get to what I've got marked off here. Okay. So we're back to some of these things for Papa Rogers. Let me just see here. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Kaylee's sister went to Chief Fry and said, like, look at who is this Papa Rogers? You guys need to look into this. So we're talking about the beginning of December, that his posts continue to needle with other members of the chat in this Facebook group. December 14th, he posted about law enforcement. Fight me. Law enforcement is no closer to solving this than they were 30 days ago. A couple days later, he posts, the killer has a sexual dysfunction. Your thoughts? Odd, right? That on his phone, they find porn of him looking at girls who are drunk and passed out and gagged. But Bill Thompson says there was no sexual dysfunction thing. Nothing that had nothing to do with this case. Right? In another instance of seemingly overconfidence of possibly having particular insight into the case, when he was asked how long he suspected the killer was in the house, Papa Roger answered, 15 minutes. On December 22nd, Papa Rogers posted, the killer is not in the victim's immediate circle. How does he know all this, right? On December 24th, someone asked, you think the assailant has left the area? Papa Rogers said, yep, likely. So, and he had made further posts earlier, around the time that he had left Pullman, Washington, that he says, the killer has probably left the area. So that was just some more information on some of the stuff that Papa Rogers, who I believe was Bryan Kohberger, because right up until the day that he was arrested, he had been posting nonstop. He started his own Facebook group because he got finally banned. And then we heard nothing, even on his own Facebook group that he'd started. And it was something Bryan Kohberger case discussion, anything goes. That was Papa Rogers that started that when he got banned from the other group, right? So now we're at December 27th, okay? Hey, Kat. Hello, everybody joining. Okay. So this is going in to talk about the agents, the FBI agents and agents from the Pennsylvania police. They were waiting for the warrants to come through from Idaho. But what they did is they wanted to keep an eye on him. They didn't want any more, deaths from Bryan Kohberger. They wanted to keep an eye on him. So the FBI surveillance team can tell Kohberger is getting skittish. This is on December 27th. And that he knows what he's doing. It's pitch black out and it's freezing, but the FBI agents have got the place surrounded. They're even in the bushes, you guys. Okay, because where the Kohberger house was, it was surrounded by forest, right? The agents are cloaked by night and by the dense woods of the Poconos. It's the time when most people are sound asleep, particularly in the dead of winter. Yet, astonishingly, at 4 a.m., Bryan Kohberger walks out of his parents' house carrying garbage and wearing nitrile gloves. He dumps the bag in his neighbor's trash can, then scurries inside. Now, we were under the assumption that he only did that once. Nope. Let's read on. A few hours later, he's back out again, gloved and depositing more garbage in his neighbor's trash cans. Back and forth, he carries out bags several times in the hours to come, always wearing gloves. The agents are ahead of him, though. They know time is of the essence. In the early hours of the morning, they fish the garbage out of Kohberger's bins and the neighbors' bins. According to the law, once trash is placed in a bin on the curb, it's public property. They fly it to the Ottawa State, Ottawa. I've got Ottawa on my brain, you guys. The Idaho State Lab. They fly it. It's on a flight and it's gone to Idaho. By December 28th, they got what they need. They alert Pennsylvania State Police stationed at Strasburg to be ready. Bryan's DNA was not in the trash. He must have worked overtime to ensure that, but his dad's DNA is. And his dad's DNA shows a likelihood of his being the father of the person whose DNA is on the knife sheath. A likelihood that, according to the lab, would not be shared with at least 9.9999998% of the male population. That's enough for Payne to finish his probable cause affidavit, sign it, and walk it over to the courthouse for the signature of Judge Megan Marshall. Went to Idaho, University of Idaho. From there, it's emailed to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania State Police, a special emergency response team, gets ready for a night raid. So, December 29th, 7:10, Christine is hunched over her laptop watching Papa Rogers cross a line. He writes to one woman, "Please elaborate, you attention whore." And to another woman, "You are full of donkey excrement." This is when they ban him, okay, from the Moscow, Idaho murders discussion page. They ban him. He then turns around very soon afterwards and creates a Facebook page called Moscow, Idaho Murders Anything Goes. And he is listed as the admin on that page. I guess people were complaining that the guy's gone crazy, like name calling, belittling other people, swearing at them, trying to meddle in their real life, trying to get their addresses, stuff like that. So she finally bans him. And she's pissed off because usually when you ban somebody, if you've had messages between you and them, they're not erased. They usually stay there. It's just they can't post no more, right? But after the 29th, he goes completely dark. He's never to ever post anywhere else ever again. Right? So he goes dark. So that's another reason why they believe that he is Papa Rogers. So we go on to the next thing that I've highlighted here. The defense is saying that there was no connection to any of the victims, and I do believe that there is. We may get more information on that later down the line. Don't forget, there's so much that was sealed that we don't know everything. And just because you got to keep in mind, you guys, just because Ann Taylor says something in court, it doesn't mean it's true. I've said this all along. Steve Goncalvas even said he was irritated sitting in that courtroom while Ann Taylor was spewing stuff that wasn't true, and there was nothing he could do about it. And Bill Thompson wasn't standing up and defending the victims or the victims' families when he knew what she was saying wasn't true. He just let it slide, and that was pissing him off. Okay, so that makes me even more sus that Bill Thompson gave Ann Taylor special treatment because of the connection of him giving her her first ever job. I wonder if Steve Goncalves knows that. By the sounds of it, he doesn't. And he needs to know that when Ann Taylor graduated, the first person to give her a job was Bill Thompson. He needs to know that. So however you guys have got to do it, and you can say you got it here, um, please do, because I haven't heard anybody else bring it out. He needs to know this. So you guys tag Steve on this video, tag it, share it with him, share it out and tag Steve. He needs to know this, you guys, because I've seen some of his interviews and he's angry and he's mad. And sometimes when you're angry and mad like that, you miss certain things. He needs to know that Bill Thompson was the first employer of Ann Taylor when she graduated. Is this why Bill Thompson let her get away with so much? Is this why Bill Thompson was quick to jump on this plea deal when the defense came to him and said, "Bill, man, we know you got us, but let's make a deal." Is that why he favored what Ann Taylor wanted over what the victims wanted? Because she was his protege. Right? Steve needs to know this information, and I need you guys to help me get it out to him. So please share this video on your TikTok, I don't have TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff, on your X, on Facebook, wherever you can, share this out. Steve has to know this. So I'm wondering if there is a connection, and did Bill Thompson just say, "Oh, we're not going to use that"? How can we trust Bill Thompson now? I can't. Sorry, I don't. Right? Every criminologist knows that the more emotional the crime, the more likely that the criminal will revisit the scene. And using a knife is personal. Okay? So here, Kohberger's phone pinged at the 1122 King Road network between 9:12 and 9:21 a.m. the very next morning. He went back to that crime scene. And I find it very odd, okay, that I never hear Bill Thompson say, "Well, wait a minute. All these times before, he visited this crime scene. And then once the murders happened, he visited the next morning. He goes home, he takes that selfie, thumbs up. Nobody's even found them yet. Thumbs up. I'm going to get away with thumbs up." And he never goes back to that area ever again. He's never seen by GPS tracking or anything to ever go back around there again. Wait a minute, Ann. I thought you said this was normal for him to drive that area. Why isn't he ever driving it again? Why was he always driving that area late at night, but after the murders, he never does it again? Yeah, so after the murders, one of Brian's classmates that we have talked about a lot, this Ben guy that finally ended up getting really creeped out by Bryan Kohberger, he states, or this could be maybe somebody else, but one of Brian's classmates, someone who has 4 classes with him that semester and is used to listening to his monologues, like he doesn't just answer a question, he goes into elaborate details of why he thinks the way he does and what information he's got to back it and everything else. And he never just even takes 2 minutes to answer a question. It's always like you're sitting there for 15, 20 minutes, right? Notices him that he doesn't speak at all. He doesn't answer questions. He becomes quiet. He doesn't want to discuss the murders. Well, everybody else in his classes, um, after these murders, are wanting to discuss it in class and everything else. Bryan Kohberger wants nothing to do with it. He sits there. He's not eager to answer and give the answer because he's always like to make everybody in the class make himself look good, right? To everybody, I'm the smartest one here. He stops answering questions. He just sits there and he's quiet. Um, the classmate just assumed that Kohberger maybe was ill or tired or something along them. Ben Roberts, another classmate, remembers dimly that Bryan said he was extra short on sleep in December. Right? Odd. Um, okay, what was this? Okay, so this is December 9th when he's called into the office and this and that, and he blew up on Professor Snyder. Um, let me just see. Um, he was told the plan was that they came up with for him that he had to start being more respectful to the women, his professors, his peers, and his students. Um, Although the professor had said that yes, you had made some improvements, it wasn't enough. Um, so they were telling him basically December 9th that we're not going to need you anymore, right? Um, because now, just 2 days after that promising meeting, Bryan is losing it for the second time this semester with Snyder in the professor's office. He blew up again at him. When Ben and Bryan's cohort hear about this, they are mystified about how anybody could rub the affable, easygoing professor the wrong way. So something big. Bryan had to have done something big to rub this professor the wrong way. And Bryan, like, apparently really blew up at this guy, right? At this professor that everybody apparently really respected and loved this professor. Um, to use very coarse language for a second, Ben said, if you fuck up badly enough, you wind up on a PIP, a performance improvement plan. As a graduate student, you have done something terribly, dreadfully, miserably wrong. But Bryan cannot control himself in front of Snyder, apparently. The rest of the class had seen what happens to Bryan when he's angry. He goes bright red and clenches his fists so hard his knuckles turn white and his jaw starts clenching. You know how in court we seen him clenching his jaw? Like we could see the muscles of his jaw. That's why they said no more zooming in on Bryan Kohberger, because you could see them jaw muscles just clenching, right? Um, and the Chief Jenkins heard that one of the thorny issues that was brought up again under discussion is the allegation by a woman student that Bryan had followed her to her car. But the discussion spins out of control, way beyond civility, into something angry. 2 days later, on December 11th, Dr. Newley wrote to Bryan requesting a meeting, at which time he must have known that he was about to be fired and he would be losing his funding. She later wrote in her termination letter of December 19th that she requested the meeting because during his altercation with Professor Snyder, it became apparent that you had not made any progress regarding professionalism. He didn't receive that letter until he got back home. But to me, you guys, that's the university protecting themselves. I think by this time they had got some either inside information or they were suspicious of Bryan Kohberger because now the white Hyundai had been released and stuff like that. And I think they got some indication maybe that this could be him that pulled this off. So they wanted to protect themselves because the hammer would have come down. It's like, how could you guys not have seen this? Look at the classes he was in. These classes were to teach students how to recognize people that may carry out something like this, right? That's what one of his classes was about. And they failed miserably because they had this guy in their class. They didn't want no backlash from anybody, right? Especially hiring him on as a teacher's assistant and giving him so many chances after he was doing certain things like this towards women. And he got away with it, right? So they didn't want no backlash. So, no, we got to fire him now. You know what I mean? Good try, Washington State University. Okay, next. Okay, so it says here Brett Payne hadn't even heard the name Bryan Kohberger until the FBI phoned on December 19th. Okay, so again, you guys, let me hang on a sec. I gotta go over here. Hang on. Because so many people are asking me about this. So I'm going to. Whoops. Let me just go here. Okay, so here is the link. Everybody's been asking me for the link to the read that I did on this case, December 9th, December 8th. I just seen it again. It's December 8th. I did that read where I described Bryan Kohberger almost to a T, where I said I believe he's grabbed something. I believe that he's a teacher's, a lecturer, or he does something like that at the university. So here it is here. Brett Payne hadn't even heard the name Bryan Kohberger until the FBI phoned that tip in December 19th. Okay? He didn't try to obtain warrants for Kohberger's phone records until December 23rd. So that is proving right there that they had no idea who did this until at least mid-December, about December 15th. So my read coming out on December 8th that described this guy to a T, and that I thought that the police had something. Well, they did. They had the knife sheath. We didn't find that out until after he was arrested. We didn't until we get the probable cause, which was, I think it was like March of 2023 that we finally got the probable cause and we found out about the knife sheath. And in this read, I just pinned it there. I put it in the comments there. In there, I said there's an arrest coming. The police have something and they're not telling us. They had the DNA from the sheath from day one. Okay? That came out in the read, you guys. So go and check that read out if you haven't and share it out. Okay, so the next thing I've got here, let me just see the chat for a minute. Roche says, please indulge me with your input about the original owners to these off-canvas houses that have pedo backgrounds, and they just gave it over to the state. They've never mentioned why. Are you talking about 1122 King Road? It wasn't given to the state. It was given to the university. And I believe at one time, the dean of the university used to own that house. From what don't quote me, you guys, but there's somebody from the University of Idaho that used to own that house. It was sold to a corporation. And then that corporation, once these murders happened, the corporation gave it to the university to do what they wanted with it. So if that's the house you're talking about, Rose, and I really haven't dug down the rabbit hole on that yet, but I have heard things about it. Carol says, my ex used to do that with his jaw muscles right before the blast. I would have been scared shitless. Yeah. Somadon says, I just wonder if he hadn't broke into that house prior and pulled a camera or hacked into the girl's laptop camera. He was spying on his neighbors, correct? Maybe that is what he was packing out. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I think if there would have been a camera or something, like if he had gotten into that house before, like maybe when they all went out drinking or to a party or something, and he got in there before, or even when they were sleeping, because we know now that the back door never locked. Did he go in and put a camera somewhere? We don't know. But I think that the girls would have seen it, maybe. Somebody would have seen it. We know that he did. The girl that he shared an office with, her house had been broken into a couple times, her apartment, and Bryan went in and installed cameras for her and put the passcode on it. So she thinks that he had been watching her. Did he do that at the 1122 King Road house? We don't know, right? Did he ever get in there before? We don't know. And unless Bryan Kohberger talks, we're never going to know a lot of things, right? Okay, so we're almost done. We've got a few more things to hit on, you guys. Um, so it goes through here what they took from Bryan's car. Ziploc bags, a bag with a pink zipper, 7/4 plastic baggie. We know all this because we've gone through it before. I don't see anything in here um, that really stands out. Uh, a shovel, goggles, floor mats, reflective vest, a wrench, a visor, fibers, a band-aid, wrappers, maps, document, seatbelt boot. I don't really see anything in there that I didn't already cover when we went through things that were taken. Now from the house, from the Kohberger family home, there's some items that they list here. They take his phone, laptops, hard drives, computer, the black box, Samsung car navigation system, as well as 3 knives, including a large sheath Taylor cutlery knife, a gun, which was a Glock 22, 3 magazines. They also take a flashlight, 2 bags with green leafy substance. Wonder what that was. An AT&T phone bill, and a large Craftsman shop vac. Um, for instance, the list intriguingly mentions a book. It doesn't give a title with underlinings on page 118. We found out that that was Elliot Rogers' manifesto. On that page, Roger wrote of how he came to select the date of his day of retribution, November 2013. And then it's funny that Bryan carries out the murders on November 13th. He couldn't do it 2013 like Elliot Rogers did, but he could do it November 13th, right? He just took that 20 off of there. Then there was an item about a list of a drawing referred to as a man's mind. This was a drawing, and they say that it could be referenced to a well-known black and white poster of a man's face in a profile with a naked woman erotically arched backward, cleverly drawn into his frontal lobe. Bryan Kohberger had that. Underneath the name Sigmund Feud is scribbled underneath. Rose says this owner that they is his to the public has been eating my mind up since day one. They owned the Kings and Queens homes. I'm truly bothered by it. I don't know, Rose. I really didn't deep dive into that. So they're saying that a lot of things that Bryan Kohberger did coincide with Elliot Rogers' manifesto. They both point to the mind of a misogynic incel who planned a murder that was more or less a copycat of Elliot Rogers' killings spree as a vengeance, and even right down to the same sorority. Okay, let's go to this one. Hang on a sec, you guys. So here we get, if you remember back further in the book, one of Bryan Kohberger's friends that he hung out with a lot, that friend's parents really didn't want their son hanging around with Bryan Kohberger. And they thought that he's the one that broke into their house. So this is like that little prick. He was in my house all the damn time. When Mark Bayless sees Kohberger's image on the TV, he swears. Suddenly, it all makes sense. If the guy is capable of murder, he's certainly capable of burglary. Bayless remembers Kohberger as clear as day, always lurking behind his son and nephew, never saying hello and staring into space. He hadn't connected the dots at the time, but now he's sure of it. Bayless dials the local state troopers and asks them to reactivate the investigation into the series of break-ins he experienced all those years ago. He hadn't been able to figure out who was stealing items from him, maybe up to 25 times, taking $30,000 worth of rare coins, jewelry, and knives from his house. And this, whoever was doing it was coming in and out through the woods. Now he says it all makes sense. It was Bryan. He knew that it was somebody who knew the property well, that had been in that property, etc. So now he's saying it was Bryan. Charlotte, there we go. Charlotte, I will add you to the wheel. I am assuming you want to get in on the book. And for the $9.99, you will get 2 entries. Let me get you on the wheel. There was tons of stuff missing. Okay, let me just get Charlotte on the wheel. I gotta get her on twice. There we go. You are on the wheel, Charlotte, twice for your $9.99 super chat. Thank you so, so much. I appreciate you. Okay, let me just make sure. I've got everybody here. Okay. Okay, hang on a second here. Okay, hang on a sec, you guys. Whoops. Uh, uh, I'm just making sure I've got everybody on this wheel. So let me just go and check PayPal to see if anybody else has sent. Oh, come on. Okay, hang on. I gotta enter my code. To get into PayPal now, you gotta have your code and blah, 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 blah. Okay, Leslie, PTA. You've got 2 entries. Let me get you written down. So 2 entries. And okay, wait, let me get these from PayPal on Jack D. Whoops. Jeez. Okay, hang on. Jack D for the win. Jack D for the win. Copy. Paste. Okay, Jack D for the win. You were also on the wheel twice. PayPal. Okay. So thank you for the PayPal ones. Oh, who gave? Fruitfly gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. If you received a membership from Fruitfly, please make sure you give her a thank you. Thank you so much, Fruitfly. So Amber E, Eddie Purdy, Mawis Swift, Purity, and Lisa Biss. You got a free 1-month membership. Fruitfly gave. And Fruitfly, I'm going to put you on the wheel. I know I said super chats and everything, but Fruitfly just gave a bunch of memberships, so I am going to put Fruitfly on the wheel. Fruitfly is an honorary fixture on the wheel. Okay, so thank you so much, Fruitfly. Okay, so let's get through this. So now he is saying that now he does believe that it was Bryan Kohberger that broke into his house, but they said that that was years ago, and the time allowed for him to file that complaint is now gone, right? Um, oh, here was a little tidbit, you guys, that I found. Some of the friends, there, well, actually, one of the friends of this group of the Idaho Four, a friend of Josie and Lyndon's who is drunk and booked in the jail for the night. This is after Bryan Kohberger was arrested, right? Sees Kohberger in a cell alone as per maximum security status. Jail staff are not going to take a risk with him. Inmates have wives and children too, Sergeant Brennan Jordan, the deputy who was injured in the fatal shooting of Officer Lee Newbill said. Um, but yeah, so a friend of the group and a friend of Josie and Lyndon's, who was booked into the jail, did see that Bryan Kohberger was being held by himself. Warpath. There's not much more that we don't. Okay, here is what I brought out about. In fact, the man who gave Ann Taylor her first job is now sitting a couple feet away from her on the other team. That is Bill Thompson. So we already went through that at the very beginning of the video. Let's see, why did I mark this? Oh, so this is another thing that really struck me. About, like, is the defense going to try and argue that Kohberger's DNA could have gotten on the knife sheath from years before? Because Ann Taylor had brought up that he had let his friends use that knife to whatever, right? Or could one of his friends have taken the knife and, and him take it back, or could it have been one of his friends' knives, something like that, right? And Steve was really pissed about this. So he did his own research on how long DNA could last on that specific knife sheath. I am told that version of a K-bar has a special material for the button and it's copper based. And that dramatically speeds up the deterioration of DNA. Tests have shown sometimes less than 24 hours to the max of 7 days. So any DNA on that snap would have dissipated after, they say, 24 hours to the maximum of 7 days. And what about the lack of an obvious link between Kohberger and the victims? Kohberger wasn't part of Kaylee's circus. So will the lurid speculation that Kaylee had an OnlyFans page or some sort of secret life even worsen? Steve wants to protect Kaylee, to be her mouthpiece now that she's unable to speak for herself. But Judge Marshall just made that harder. She's put the gag order on them too, right? So being that the special material used for that specific K-bar knife, the button is copper based, and that dramatically speeds up the deterioration of DNA. So the maximum amount of time that DNA could have been on that snap was 7 days. But they say usually within 24 to 48 hours that the copper deteriorates the DNA, that it wouldn't be recognizable. Let's see what else. Yeah, so they're just going into Papa Rogers never appearing again, even though they were baiting him by like putting false information about the crime, like once the crime had happened, right? They were putting information out there to bait him to see what he was going to come back with. Nobody ever heard from him ever again. Now, there was some fake accounts that were made, but it was never traced back to this Papa Rogers. So that was something else that was interesting. Um, oh, so this part here, um, this is when Bill Thompson calls in Hunter and Emily for the grand jury indictment, and they were terrified of going back, but he made sure that they got in through the back door and all kinds of stuff like this. Once they testified at the grand jury hearing, um, he slipped them back out again. Um, Emily felt, okay, like I've done what I should have done. She said that the last words that Bill Thompson said to her is, I'll call you when I need you, but meanwhile, I want you just to get on with your lives. That was Bill Thompson's parting message to Emily and Hunter when they headed back to Boise. But for Emily, returning to a normal was a struggle. After the murder, she struggles to focus. She worries that her GPA will not be good enough for her to get into a physical therapy program she wanted. So she ends up not applying, and this is something that she had really worked hard for. Um, she lost sight of her goals. She feels adrift, no longer the person that she was before the murders. Hunter is an athletic coach at Centennial High School in Boise, so he at least has some kind of structure. Emily takes a series of part time jobs and eventually trains to be a dental hygienist, but she knows deep down that she needs to address the trauma of November 13th and she needs to try and get past it. Um, she starts going to counseling and digging up. Get this, you guys. She starts going to counseling and digging deep, learning to um, be alone because even though thanks to Hunter she seldom is, like she was terrified to be alone. Listen to this. Listen to how dedicated she is for her best friend Xana. Okay? She is really Hunter and her both are having a really hard time. They're struggling. This was their best friends, right? Um Ethan was Hunter's best friend and Xana was Emily's best friend. She's struggled so hard she could never finish what she had started going to college and university for. Um, so she goes to counseling. She's going through all this counseling. It doesn't seem to be helping. So her doctor finally recommends that she tries eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. It's called EMDR. But when she runs this past Thompson's team, they warn her that that would likely disqualify any testimony that she gives at trial because EMDR can affect memory. Emily isn't going to risk that. So even though a trial could be many, many, many months away, I don't want to I don't want to testify, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. She says she wants to see this through. She wants to get justice for Xana, Ethan, Kaylee, and Maddie. Then and only then will she do this therapy. This is a therapy that could help her immensely, could really, really help her with her struggles. And she is willing to put her health on the burner, on the back burner, so she can still testify. Right? That's dedication. That's what best friends do. I mean, I really commend her. Why did I do this? I think we've already covered much of that. Oh, okay. So, do you guys remember when they were showing? That's why I did this. Now that I'm reading the second page here, when hey, Juror 11, hey, Shy. Do you guys remember when they were? A News Nation was covering the 1122 King Road house, and Chief Fry showed up with a U-Haul van and they were emptying stuff out of the house. Well, a lot of people were saying, like, come on, like, they don't do that for just anybody. Like, we've never seen the chief of police bring out people's belongings and this and that, and, help them pack up and stuff like that. I'm going to tell you what happens because it says it here. That scene, the crime scene in there, was so bad that he didn't want to let any of them in the house. So, what he did is everything from the bedrooms that wasn't taken as evidence, because Ethan had a lot of stuff there too, right? So, Ethan practically lived there. What they did is anything that wasn't evidence from each of the bedrooms, they packed up and they took out, they put in the U-Haul. They took it to some kind of, what do they call it here? It's a nondescript building, I guess, that the police department owns or uses. There's no description on the building. It's opposite the Kibbe Dome. And I believe the Kibbe Dome is where they have all their football games, right? The University of Idaho. All of the stuff from each of the roommates and the surviving roommates was brought there. And none of the families were allowed to go together. So, one by one, the parents of the victims of Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana were able to go there, and they had an area that was all Xana's, and the other rooms, the other areas were like kind of covered. So, this is all the stuff that was in Xana's room. This is the stuff that was in the bathroom on the second floor and the kitchen. So if there's anything there of Ethan's that you want, you can take it. And one of the parents was describing that they could see blood splatter on some of the stuff. So that's how they returned the belongings. And that includes Dylan and Bethany's rooms that were clean, that didn't have, and Kaylee's room that didn't have anything on it. I'm just going to say it like that. But Maddie's room and Xana's room were blocked off from the rest of the other rooms, and they were only the parents were allowed to go in there and take what they wanted of their child's belongings. And I'm not going to say which parent, but one of the parents was set aback, as you can imagine, because they could see blood splatter on some of the items in the rooms. So that had to have been really hard. And then each of them, including Dylan and Bethany, were able to go into the bathroom because there was no blood splatter or anything in the bathroom or the kitchen. So each of the families were allowed to go into the stuff that was taken out of the bathrooms and the kitchen and take whatever they felt was their child's if they wanted to. So that's what this is. They go into the demolition of the house, how they were happy that the University of Idaho had agreed not to demolish the house until the following August after the trial, whatever, but then the trial was moved. So they go into that. And there's only two more parts here, you guys. Okay, so this is when this lady, Connie, runs into Michael Kohberger at a Rite Aid in Broadheadsville. So I'm assuming this is in Pennsylvania. Yeah, summer of 2024. So last summer, this lady, Connie, gives her count of what her interaction was with Bryan Kohberger's dad. And I'm going to read all of this for you guys. So Connie Saba is shopping at the Rite Aid in Broadheadsville. She sees someone in the pain relief aisle who looks familiar. She stops. Is it someone she used to work with? And then she realizes that's Michael Kohberger, Bryan's dad. Connie, he says, is that you? Oh, how are you, Michael? He seems very pleased to talk to somebody. My heart goes out to Marianne, Connie says. How is she? Michael tells her that his wife doesn't talk to anyone, even on the phone. We lead a very quiet life, he says. We don't go out. And even when they are home, he says they don't feel safe. People, he tells her, are watching our house. What people? Connie replies. Government people, he says, leaving her slightly confused. Then he says, you know Bryan didn't do it, right, Connie? Connie thinks. She says, the Bryan I know wouldn't do it. She wants to seem supportive. It's then that Michael seems to remember that he hasn't spoke to her since Jeremy died. So this is Bryan Kohberger's best friend at the time, Jeremy, who died. And remember, Bryan didn't even call Connie to say, I'm sorry about Jeremy's death. He just got irate and upset and everything. We were both shocked to hear Jeremy died, he tells her. Marianne wanted to call you, but she felt unable to. He doesn't explain why. Does Bryan know Jeremy died? Bryan was away, Michael says. He doesn't say where. We didn't tell him for months, but yes, he knows. Bryan wasn't the same after the drugs, he adds. He wasn't the same person. Connie kind of nods. She thinks even on drugs, Jeremy had remained a good, sweet, and good natured person. But Bryan was framed, Michael says. Connie is startled. Framed? Someone planted that knife sheath, he tells her. The police didn't find it when they first went in. There were lots of drugs in that house, a lot of people around, but they only looked at Bryan. You know how he likes to drive around when he's nervous? Connie kind of is taken aback. She doesn't. She doesn't know that he did that. She doesn't know that he used to drive around when he was nervous, but she doesn't say nothing. He always used to get in the car and drive at night when he needed to think, or he had some fog. He had to get away to just think, or when he couldn't sleep, he would just drive around. You know this. Connie doesn't say anything because she doesn't know this. Michael adds, things will come out at the trial. Everyone will see. The two go down memory lane, reminiscing about Jeremy and Bryan's childhoods, the two boys running back and forth between their respective houses. Connie asks after Michael's daughters, Amanda and Melissa. She reads news reports that Melissa was fired from her job, but she doesn't ask specifically about that. Michael says they're good. So all she did was ask about the daughters, and Michael says, oh, they're good. They chat in the aisle for at least an hour. Michael seems almost sorry to leave. She can tell he doesn't get to blow off steam much. That night, she phones her daughter Bridget to go over the whole extraordinary conversation. Connie feels for Michael Kohberger, but he clearly believes his son is innocent. She isn't sure if he's innocent, if he's in denial or not. But she can empathize with how a parent must feel in a situation like this, given everything the Kohbergers tried to do for Bryan. So that's, is there one more? Oh, there is one more. Last one. So now they're going into he's flown back. Oh, I didn't know this, you guys. September 15th, 2022, they're saying. I don't know why they're starting there. Bryan Kohberger has flown 300 miles south to Boise and booked into the Ada County Jail. There is an inevitable media fanfare around his trip. Mike Pattinson considers this to be almost a literal weight off the minds of the people in Moscow. Many of them have wanted the trial held locally for emotional reasons, but no one liked the idea of Kohberger sitting underground virtually underneath them. It emerges that his exit is barely a day too soon. So, when they moved the trial to Boise, Idaho, it says here, it emerges that his exit is barely a day too soon. On October 3rd, it's reported that the Latah County Jail might finally be closed because it does not meet code regulations. A new fire marshal has arrived in town, looked over the facility, and has said that the fire sprinklers and electrical systems don't meet standards and the doors are too small. Evan Ellis, that's that local reporter, the only one that Chief Fry trusted to speak to, he reports that rebuilding the jail could cost up to $14 million minus the cost of the land. If city commissioners decide it's too expensive, Moscow's criminals might need to be housed in Lewiston instead. And the move could happen in just 2 weeks. Thank the Lord Kohberger is not in there, Evans says, imagining the stink there would have been. So I don't know, because being the cynical journalist that he is, he considers the timing. The election for the sheriff is barely a month away and thinks that it might be fortuitous for James Fry's campaign because the jail's failure to meet code regulations happened on his opponent's watch. Is the new fire marshal a Fry guy? And hang on, sorry. A Fry guy and trying to help him out, or just a by the book guy? Is this just coincidence? Evans asks. I have no idea, he says with a laugh. So that's basically the rest of what I found in this book to be things that we didn't know were at the end of it. Like I said, there is a lot more in this book that we don't know about or we hadn't heard about, but I wanted to basically go over a lot of the major things that were kind of shocking, right? His dad is telling you something is off with that man. Sounds to me like Mr. Kohberger Sr. and Jr. are delusional, right? BK and his father are delusional, Rose says. Yeah, they are. So yeah, I don't know if the Latah County, because he would never go back there anyway because his trial was moved to Ada County. But Latah County, I wonder if their jail is still open there. Does anybody know? Here, let me look it up. Give me a minute, you guys. Uh, is the Latah County Jail closed now? No, it's not. But it is transitioning to a court holding and booking facility during certain hours. It will be staffed only during normal business hours for booking, and after hours, arrests will be transported to the Nez Perce County Jail. The jail is also undergoing repairs and a new facility is being explored. So it's not fully closed, it's operating just as a holding place for people attending court. So, yeah. Ooh. And for people who are being booked in during, like, who get arrested during the day, they're booked in there and then they're transferred. If they've got to stay in jail, if they can't post bail, they are being transferred to the Nez Perce County Jail. While the Latah County Jail is under renovations. They're also looking into maybe even building a new jail. You sent me some information. In Messenger. Okay, I will go. I won't be able to check it today because I've got a ton of stuff I've got to do once we do the draw for the book. But I will check it. Let me write it down because you know I'm going to forget if I don't write it down. Uh, so you sent me that on Facebook, Summer? Rose is still wants to go digging. I want to go a few places in the States right now. I can't. It is on. I have shown it, Rose, where I think he ditched everything. Um, okay. Facebook. Okay, I will go and check it out probably when I get back from my errands from today. And thank you for whatever it is, Summer. I know it's got to be good because you sent it. Okay, so I'm going to give it 5 minutes, you guys. If anybody else wants to be on the wheel to win this book, get your $5 super chat in now. If you put a $10 super chat, you get your name on the wheel twice. 20, get your name on the wheel 4 times. I have snapshots from what you've shown us. I want to go digging. I would love Rose to go. Seriously. But right now, while we're waiting, I'm going to give it 5 minutes for anybody else to get in their super chats. Each time you donate $5, so any increments of $5, that's how many times you'll get your name on the wheel, and I will send you this book. Like I was saying, yeah, I know a lot of people who have crossed into the US that, I mean, we used to go all the time, and they get ripped apart. Their cars get ripped apart at the US before they enter the US. And then on the way back, Canada Customs rips them apart again. We are being advised right now not to cross the border. It's not, they're saying it's not safe. And apparently, Canadians are being targeted. Like, not for anything like beating us up or shooting us or stuff like that, but there's a Canadian that's being detained, and they can detain you for so many hours, and they do. It's an abuse of power, but my sister with COPD can't come. So it's like, I don't want to risk, because I would drive. Um, like I could fly to like Alberta and then cross over into the States and then rent a car in the States, because I don't want to be driving around in the States with Canadian plates, because apparently we're targets for people that I guess are hating on Canadians right now. Um, but we're also targets at each border, not only at the US border, but we're targeted when we come back too. And we got to have receipts. Like, say I go across and I bring my laptop, I got to make sure I've got my receipt that I had purchased that in Canada, or Canadian Customs will keep it, or they'll look up the value of that computer and charge me duty and taxes and tariffs. It's crazy. Yeah. Oh, like I said in my previous lives, he's got something up his sleeve. Yep, there's them two areas that I was very, because he really didn't even have to get out of his car. He could just toss it. And in those bushes, it's not an area where, the grass is cut or it's taken care of by either the property owner on one side or the roads department on the other, because there's a big, huge group of trees. Whoever goes in there on the side of that highway, right? So that's where I think, yes, yes, because I love my American friends and family. I've even been offered a free Airbnb if I want to go. So it's not like, for me, money isn't an issue going. It's just I don't need my brand new Jeep ripped apart twice. Once going into the US and then once coming back into my own country. So it's scary right now. And yeah, it needs to stop. There you go. I would love to go with you though, Rose. Yeah. Like I know there was a couple that is from Hawkesbury, which isn't far from me, up in the Ottawa Valley area. Um, they went across, they were doing it was, I believe it was on an Antiques Road show or something like that. Anyway, they had taken their cameras, their laptops, and whatever because they document everything. Um, and when they came back to come back through Canada Customs, because they didn't have receipts and they had 24 hours to go home, find the receipts for it to prove that they had bought that equipment in Canada and go get back down to the border. And from Hawkesbury to the border at Cornwall is probably a good hour and 15-minute drive. So they had to leave their electronics there, and they had 24 hours to get back there with all their receipts. Like if I bought like my laptop I bought like 4 years ago, I have no idea where the receipt is. You know what I mean? So if I ever go into the US, I want to make sure that I can bring my laptops and my iPad and my camera equipment and everything so I can document everything for you guys, right? To know that if I don't bring my receipts with me proving that I bought that stuff in Canada, not the US, on the way back in, Canada Customs will take it. Or they will look up the value of it and they will charge me not only duty, but the tariffs and everything on it and taxes. It's crazy. Yeah, it was some kind of like an antiques roadshow or thing. They go to the mall. Carol says, I'm in Colorado. You can come to my house. I'd love to go to Colorado. I would love to see Colorado. Right? We would. We would live stream it for sure. But yeah. Okay, well, I've given it 5 minutes, you guys. I guess everybody who wants to be on the wheel is on it. I'm going to bring up the wheel. Here it is, you guys. So I'm making this as big. Can I not make this bigger? I cannot. Okay. Whoops. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click. Okay, what I want you to do first is I want you to let me pick somebody here. Carol or Shy, because Shy's not on the wheel, so that's fair. Shy. Juror 11. Pick a number between 1 and, or between 10 and 30. Juror 11. Pick a number between 10 and 30. I'm waiting for Shy to pick a number between 10 and 30. Shy. Juror 11. Pick a number. 27? Okay, so that's how many times I'm going to shuffle. Click the shuffle. See the shuffle button here? Just so it makes it fair for everybody, I'm going to click it 27 times, and then we're going to hit the center button, and there's going to be a winner. You'll see it right on screen. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Click it. Here we go. And the winner is K Mitch. K Mitch is the winner. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. So we have got K Mitch that has won the book. K Mitch, are you in chat? Please email me with, I need your email. I'll email it to you. I need your mailing address. K Mitch. K Mitch. Okay, so let me get this off. So I can get, okay. Where is K Mitch? K Mitch. I don't know why my chat is lagging so bad. K Mitch has won. K Mitch, are you in here? K Mitch, calling K Mitch. Okay, so I will put it in a post that K Mitch won, and she's going to have to, do you have to be present to win? No. It's anybody who, from the replay, because there was people that donated with the little heart that's below every video. If you don't see a little heart below the videos, you can click the 3 little dots, and there's a heart there with a $sign in it, and it says thanks. You can donate there too. So there are people from the replay crews. People donated through PayPal. As long as you have donated since I first started reviewing the book, in increments of $5, you are on the wheel. I had to refresh mine like 3 times. Yeah, like my chat is not, I don't know why. Let me just refresh here. I'm sorry, Carol. Okay, so I will put a post, K Mitch 1, and she's going to have to email me. I think I have her email address, but I'm not sure. Willow, your fingers match my toes. Aw, I'm glad. Family. So I will make a post letting K Mitch know that she did win, and I will get this book out to her ASAP. Now, who was it? Somebody, I don't know if it was K Mitch or not. I know somebody had said they put $5 in to be put on the wheel, but if they won, they wanted to gift it to somebody else. And I think it was K Mitch. I did finish your book, Shy, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I just want to reach out and give you such a big hug. Okay, so you guys, I do have to run because I've got to be at this appointment for 2:00. That's generally the time they've got to recheck my ears and everything, and I've got to go and pick up because my prescription is almost out. It is an antibiotic, and I still have a little bit of infection in my ear, so they're extending it for another 5 days. So I've got to go and pick that up. Oh, Summer, it was you? Okay. You're very welcome, Shy. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you, everybody who sat through this with me, and who commented, who super chatted, my mods for keeping everything on track here and stuff like that. I want to really thank you so, 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 so much. So I felt bad because I couldn't remember her name. So I was trying to go back yesterday and find out. Yeah, me too. I thought I'd written it down and I didn't. And you guys know me and my memory. It is horrible. Fruitfly says, where can I get it? On Amazon. Give her the name of the book. I don't think you can put links, Shy. Okay, so there's the name of the book. If you want to get it, Fruitfly. The name of it is Just Me, Myself, and My Demons. That's the name of the book. And that is Armad Shai who published that. Yes, you guys too. Take care of yourselves. Don't forget, we will be here next Wednesday for Bryan Kohberger's sentencing. We're going to be live. We're going to be covering it. What is he going to pull? Is he going to pull something at the sentencing? Because right up until that gavel hits, you guys, he can say, you know what? Screw this. I've come across information and I take my plea back. And then, you know what? We're back to the beginning and this goes to trial. Is he going to wait? And is he going to file an appeal? He's going to do something. So make sure you're here with me. I will put the link, the thumbnail and everything up the day before. So make sure you click on that and set your notification bell. Please also make sure you guys get this information that I gave at the beginning of the video. Get it out to Steve Goncalvas. Please, please tag him. Get it to him. Let him know that you heard it here. If he wants to maybe reach out to me, he can. And I can tell him a bit more information that I've got on it. Because I really think that they should know this before sentencing. Okay, you guys, please help me get it out to him. Please help me. He needs that information. That Ann Taylor's first job ever she was hired by none other than the prosecution that is prosecuting her case of Bryan Kohberger, Bill Thompson. He hired her when she finished at law school. Her first ever job was working for Bill Thompson. He needs to know that, everybody. So please let him know. Get it to him any way you can. Let him know where you got it from. Please and thank you. I would appreciate it. And until the next time, you guys, thank you for sticking with me, for being here, for always supporting me. My lovely mods, I love you guys. You guys are all family. This is a safe place here for everybody, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm even thinking of maybe Monday doing a read to see if Bryan Kohberger is going to try and pull something. I am going to push for mini reads this Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to do everything in my power to get the mini reads back. I've been getting a lot of requests. They want the mini reads back. So Sunday afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern, I will be doing the mini reads. So if you want your very own mini read, come and see me Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern, right here. And we will be doing the mini reads. I hope to see you guys all there. So until the next time, you guys, please take care of yourselves. Please stay safe. Always be aware of your surroundings and be careful who you trust. I love you guys to the moon and back. Bye-bye for now.